Early voting for the Texas primary elections began February 17th. Before you vote, you should know who's on the ballot. Here's multimedia journalist Ian Juarez with the story.
I'm here outside the Student Academic Center, where students on the Edinburgh campus can vote on the Texas primaries for candidates they want to see on the ballot in the upcoming November election. I spoke to two political science professors to get their opinion on some of the key races and candidates.
I would encourage, college students and UTRGV students to get involved and vote in their primary.
Early voting for Texas primary elections began for residents on February 17th. The primary election determines candidates for the general election to be held in November. Here are the leading candidates running for the primaries for each position. Candidates for Congressional District 34 for the Democratic Party are Vicente Gonzalez and Etienne Rosas. And for the Republican Party is Mayra Flores, Eric Flores, Scott Mandel, and others. For Congressional District 15 for the Democrat Party, the candidates are Bobby Pulido, Eric Cuellar, and Monica de la Cruz for the Republican Party. For the Senate, candidates of the Democratic Party are James Tallarico and Jasmine Crockett, followed by Republican candidates John Cornyn, Ken Paxton, and Wesley Hunt. Candidates for governor are Bobby Cole and Chris Bell for the Democratic Party, and for the Republican Party, Greg Abbott and Pete Chambers. Political science professor Mark Caswan says District 34 is very competitive, adding that Eric Flores has more advertisement than Mayra Flores, who has more campaign funds.
This is actually a really curious case because Donald Trump has endorsed Eric Flores instead of Mayra Flores, which obviously she's very upset about. Gonzalez has a very strong advantage in this campaign. He is the incumbent member of Congress here, so incumbency always carries a lot of advantages, a lot of name recognition, so people know who he is. They kind of know what they're getting with him.
Assistant Professor of Political Science Alvaro Corral says District 15 will be an interesting race, with Bobby Pulido being a former Tejano music star.
My understanding is, that his campaign is very much, helped by his name recognition through his fans, especially that it's, he's of course very popular as a Tejano music star here in South Texas for many yeyears. Another person in the race is Ada Cuellar. Ada Cuellar, doesn't necessarily have the name recognition that someone like a celebrity like Bobby Pulido does, but, she, I think is in the medical field, and she's practices, I think, in Harlingen, and she's also recently gotten her law degree. They're both seeking to, dislodge the current incumbent Republican Veronica de la Cruz. And so, I think that's going to be also another potentially close race.
Caswan says how the Republican Senate race is one of the most exciting in the country right now, calling attention to the tight race between Paxton and Cornyn.
Actually upset some of the more conservative Republicans, people who are more, let's call them, on the extreme right wing, because he supported bipartisan legislation that would place some fairly limited gun control type programs in place. And he supported that, partly in response to the shootings in Uvalde and other shootings that have been happening around the country. And I was looking at some of the polling numbers, and Paxton is actually doing quite well, and may beat Cornyn at least initially.
Caswan mentions Paxton's past legal trouble when he faced impeachment by House General Investigating Committee after supposed corruption in 2023, but was acquitted at the end of his trial.
A known element in the race is Wesley Hunt, who is fairly popular congressman out of Houston, who has served for some time, and he's sort of what we call a dark horse.
Corral says the governor election is going to be a tough race for incumbent Greg Abbott's opposition.
Governor Abbott is going up for his record number of years as Texas governor, were he to complete his next term in office. So it's going to be a really tough order, I think, for Gina Hinojosa. I think what Governor Abbott would probably worry about for his side would be that if it's just a really bad year for Republicans, that maybe the Republican brand, even for him, would not do enough to sort of salvage him. The poll suggests that Governor Abbott is favored, but she can try her best to run a solid campaign.
Corral says students should vote, as the governor has a lot of sway in the state, in legislature, and being able to influence higher education. For students wanting to vote in the primaries, voting locations can be found in the Edinburgh campus, at the Student Academic Center, and at the Student Union on the Brownsville campus. The last day for early voting is February 27th. For KVAQ TV in Edinburgh, Ian Juarez.